Hi everyone, thank you for joining me today. Today I want to talk about two prophets very dear to my heart, Miriam and Deborah. In the Bible, in the Old Testament, we find 48 men prophets and only 7 women prophets. Only 7 women are entitled to be called prophets in the Bible, and 2 of them that really stand out are Miriam and Deborah. The ancient Israelites adored those 2 prophets and they told stories about them. Now, there are a few thousand years that separate them one from another, but they have a few similarities. Let's point out a few interesting things about each of them and then see how we can connect them. Miriam is the older sister, the elderly sister of Moses and Aaron. Before Moses was born, the one that will take the Israelites through the desert during the Exodus, she already had a prophecy as a child or a teenager that a savior will be born from her mother. And all throughout the story, it's a very long story, she gives wise advices about how to defend the Israelites in Egypt. And when they cross the desert, she's one of the leaders who's leading the people towards Canaan. And she's standing side by side with Aaron and Moses, and the people love her. She is a leader, and she leads the people with wise advices and also with something that will become very connected to prophets throughout the Old Testament. She leads the people by singing and dancing. In the Bible, you have a few chapters in which you can find texts that are written in the shape of a poem, a very ancient poem. In the old times, before they wrote things, or even before people knew how to read and write, they need to find a way in which they can transfer the stories from generation to generations. So what they did, they used the structure of a poem and then they rhymed it and it was a song. So either in the shape of a poem which you speak or a song that you sing, it was a way to take the knowledge from one generation to another because it was easy to remember this way. I'm sure right now songs that you like come to mind, or maybe even poems that you read, and you can repeat them because the structure makes them very memorable. After the parting of the Red Sea, this miracle that happened to them, when they reach the other side, she leads the people in dancing and singing. But it is not just a party. She is leading them in singing songs to the divine, to God. Now, this is interesting because when we talked about ancient figures that we said that might be taking ancient rituals from ancient priestesses, we saw that dancing and singing for the divine was something that many of them did. So maybe Miriam is shaped in the way they presented ancient priestesses. She is considered to be so important and so very well valued also in the eyes of God. There is a source of water that follows them as they walk through the desert. Some say it was a water pit, some say it was a rock that water came out of. But one way or another, the reason that they are worthy of having this miracle of water in the middle of the desert following them wherever they go is because of Miriam. She's considered to be so holy, so righteous, so good, stands by her people, that she is the reason that they are worthy of a miracle. They are never thirsty because Miriam is there. The legend tells us that today this miraculous source of water is inside the Sea of Galilee. This is where it ended up. In those areas of the world, you sometimes have times of drought, years of drought. And there's actually this belief that if you're doing good deeds, then the rain will come. And sometimes the rain from the heavens is connected to the sources of water down in the earth. It's a very ancient belief. In Hebrew, yam means sea. This is what the words mean. And Miriam could be connected to the essence of water, very primordial feminine water. Wherever she goes, something happens with water. She leads people in singing and dancing after parting the Red Sea. She has a source of water following her. She also watches over Moses, her brother, as they sail him down the Nile before the daughter of Pharaoh finds him. She always has this connection to this element of water. I actually did find a very old writing that says that in ancient Egyptian, Miriam, her name also meant the loved one, the beloved one, those who we love, which definitely can point out of how much love she had from her people. Now, this source of water was created in a time which we call between the two suns. The days in Jewish tradition don't change at midnight. They change at sundown. You have the date that we all follow, the regular dates for work and whatever, but for holidays you actually follow the Hebrew dates, and they change during sunset. Shabbat, which is the holy day in Judaism, actually starts on Friday evening. And during Friday evening, you have this time that you call between the two suns, between the sun of one day and the one of the other, between 2 days. And in this time, when the world was created, they say that they actually created a few things that will later on become part of the Jewish story. For example, the copper serpent that Moses will use to heal the people. They say the demons were created during this time, and also the source of water that will follow Miriam and the Israelites was created in this very mysterious time between the two suns on Friday evening when they created the world. Deborah will exist thousands of years after Miriam. Before the Israelites had royal families that ruled over them, like Samuel and David and Solomon, they had judges. Each and every time they had a local leader rising in a certain tribe that judged the people and led them when necessary. Deborah was one of those judges, a very unique one, a woman judge standing between all of them. Now, in my opinion, and I do have to say that this is my opinion, she is depicted in the form of a priestess of Asherah, the goddess of fertility, the ancient Canaanite goddess. She is depicted sitting underneath a tree as she judges the people who are coming to seek her advice and knowledge. She is a wise woman sitting underneath a tree that we know from its description and archaeological researches that was one of the trees that were sacred or holy to goddess Asherah. It's almost a tree of life, and she's sitting there waiting for the people to come and seek her knowledge. When it's time for the local tribes to go on a fight, the person that is leading the battles is coming to seek her advice, and more than that, he is asking her to join them as they go to the battlefield. So she is a woman who's getting up and going with all of them, and she is leading them in the battlefield. She is the one who is helping the spirit of the people throughout the fights. And they win the battles. And after they win, what does she do? She leads them in singing for the divine, just like Miriam did. Some say that this is one of the oldest texts in Hebrew, ancient Hebrew, that we found. The poetry, this song of Deborah, leading the people in singing after they believe that God has helped them. And once again, we see her doing something that we can already recognize as an ancient ritual that priestess used to do for the divine. Deborah, in Hebrew, we pronounce it as Dvorah. Dvorah is a name of a woman, but it also means bee, a little bee. We know that a hive of bees is something that works together in order to get them where they want. They have a queen that they take care of, but other than that, they actually move together and they create this force that is almost unmatchable. Scientists, by the way, realized that bees could actually navigate together because they have some sort of a magnet in the front of their head. I hope I'm not mistaken. If any of you is into science, let me know if I'm right. But I think it's very interesting to see how this wise woman who judges the people and lead them is actually a metaphor to this very wise, hard-working little bee that is part of something bigger than the bee itself and was creating amazing things. And we see two prophets, two women, standing thousands of years one from another, leading the people, very beloved and well appreciated by their people. They trust what they say. They trust their advices. They're connected to symbols that are very feminine. Trees, water, the source of creations. They lead songs, they sing, they dance, ancient rituals. And they are leaders. They lead in a time when it wasn't easy for women to lead others. And people listen to what they have to say and they follow them. And when good things happen to the people, they happen because those two women were so worthy of miracles that they started with them and influenced everyone else. If you have a woman in your life which is a great inspiration for you, do tell us about her. We would love to be inspired. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time.